Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that gives us and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 129 today, and we have a lot to share, a lot of colorful things to share with you today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do. So guess who finished a blanket today?
Today?
I just finished it before you got here.
Oh.
That's why I was showing you the end.
Oh.
Okay, so the granny stripe blanket with the ombre yarn is finished. And I'm only showing you half of it because, yeah. But, so the pink is called Jazzy. And it's a red heart, super saver, and it's the ombre yarn. Let me see. So, the pink is called Jazzy. I used, a granny stitch, and this is called Deep Teal. And then I went into the purples, and that's called Violet. And the green is, let me see, Green Apple. And I just finished the green before Sarah got back here. And I even did an extra row of just slip stitch across the bottom because I was trying to not play yarn chicken, but use up as much of the yarn as I could because I just think it's so beautiful. And to that end, I got all the way to here.
So cool.
So I can put that in my little drawer with the other odds and ends yarn and just put it together in a magic ball or whatever. We can just use it up somehow.
I'm inspired to use all my mom's ends and mix and next to make fun little ornaments for
for a little Christmas tree for the
a crocheted or yarn crafting type of Christmas tree.
So wouldn't that be fun? But yep, that's all I had left out of all of it. And because the other three colors I got to use the whole thing, and then this one was just the end. So I was using it and using it and using it until I just knew I couldn't go across another time. But yep, I used a 5mm hook, a granny stitch, which uses double crochets, and I used 4 colors of whole skeins, 4 whole skeins to make this blanket. And that's it. And it's just a lap blanket, something to put over you, just 100 stitches across.
And this one's for her.
Yeah. Yep. Made myself a reading nook. It's reading month. March is reading month, and I made myself a reading nook. And basically, those 4 colors are what we used in the reading nook.
Yep.
And so it'll go perfectly. I'm thinking about putting up a towel rack, like a bathroom towel rack, so I can hang my Afghan next to me instead of over the back of the chair. And the chair that I have just isn't going to be conducive to that. And so hanging it up on a towel rack is going to be a solution that I can live with, and it'll be next to me. I won't need it all summer, but when it comes wintertime again, I'll have it. And it'll be right there, and it'll be just perfectly lined up, and I can switch whatever side I want to see the colors on, and yeah, the whole thing is just beautiful to me. I just love the colors. So, and the ombre yarn was very fun to work because you're going through the lights and the mediums and the darks, and it just keeps going until it just finishes. So really, really fun. So what are you working on?
Okay, so before I share what I'm working on, I want to talk about a couple of things. One of them is
She's literally working on it right now.
since last week, Mom let me take the all-in-one Granny Square yarn from Red Heart that has 5 rows worth of color that automatically changes perfectly in time with each row for a granny square.
Yeah.
And she let me take it so that I could crochet all the grannies and then assemble something for her as a surprise. Now, I've been working on those grannies and I've made it probably halfway through making them. I have not completed all of them because I'm kind of honestly stuck on one specific thing. Now, I rolled up the whole entire skein up until each final color change. So I have little balls of rolled yarn per square.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Other creators and other content creators for yarn crafting have been reviewing this yarn and have been experimenting with the fact that you can hypothetically actually use this yarn in so many different other ways. This yarn is not only conducive to making granny squares, but anything that goes in that span of double crochet with the rounds of 5 starting from the center.
Okay. Awesome.
So different types of granny squares, different types of rounded patches, different types of granny hexagons, granny, like triangles.
See, people are so creative and they're doing it.
Well, here's the thing. Those sort of patterns have been out forever, but applying this yarn to those shapes creates different depth.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
To how this can interpret the economic value of this yarn. Because, like I said before, it might not be for everybody, and there are some people who might prefer being able to create their own color variations and just use what they have, or be able to buy the 5, colors of yarn that they want to be able to use. But there's also the very true and very real reality that not everyone is in a financial situation where they're able to buy all that yarn. And buying one skein, even at $10, is much more affordable than when skeins, even at a good price, can be $2-3 and can lead up to $12-15 for all those colors. And yes, do you get more out of that? I understand that, but depending on what sort of project you're doing, especially if it's a wearable, where you're creating granny squares for a wearable, that might be much more economic of a choice.
Yeah. And you don't have all those ends either.
No, you're not wasting anything. And so I like the idea that, now, with what my mom just said, we did notice that as I was rolling yarn, there was a thing of they started giving us the lighter colors working out pattern, but they did not make it all the way to the black, which was the final round, right at the end. So I found that very interesting that they did not just cut it off at the final, the final square on the final black. They did end off until it was the exact weight of yarn, the net price of weighted yarn, not just the amount of yarn that it would take to make a certain amount of squares. So obviously that was interesting to me. But here's the thing. I find it a very interesting concept. I feel that's very innovative. And though it might not be for everybody, I still think it has its place, and it will be a cool staple that if they really innovate with color schemes and stuff, I can see it being revolutionary for the sake of beginner crafters.
Yeah.
Being able to afford starting it almost as its own kit, its own inspired kit for crafting.
And not having to switch colors will encourage them to keep going.
Yes, because sometimes that color change can be so confusing as to when do I switch, how do I switch.
Yeah,
now it feels messy. Now I have to find ways of hiding and concealing the ends.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a very cool place to start for some people. It might be slightly confusing, but if they have someone to help guide them, it's going to be just fine. But with that being said, I stopped at about half of the squares because I'm still trying to decide as to what I'm making my mom and surprising her with. And part of me wonders whether I should take a step back and change the shape of what I want to create for you, depending on what I have, because this has more potential than I originally thought, or what we originally thought due to other creators experimenting with the yarn.
You can keep the ones that you have, just maybe change the shape on the other half.
We'll see what I do, but you will be seeing something as a final product of what yarn we did buy in that type, and see what will come of that in our channel somewhere in the near future. Now, with what I'm doing right now, I've shared that I'm in me and my household are in this very specific part of our journey, and I know that you've seen me do this before where we're kind of in a purge. We have a lot of stuff, we're trying to get through stuff, we're trying to make space in our house and make it
spring cleaning time.
Yeah, just is. And there is a sense of me feeling that with my active whips. I realize how much I have not gotten done that was already promised and or intended,
right,
and or in the works. Now, I do have some level of sympathy for my situation because reviewing some prior episodes that we've done, I've seen the whole, like, I was going to get my mother-in-law's blanket done by her birthday in November, and then it stopped. But then I realized, oh, when I look through this, hey, my hands broke out so bad that I couldn't move them and could barely do dishes and could barely do this and that. This was not an intentional thing. There's some things that kind of caused a pause, and I'm allowed to have those human moments. But I even look at other people that talk about their highs and lows with accomplishing, or even kind of having the whole I bit more off than I can chew mentality when it comes to being a crafter, because we have such an intense appetite for the handmade avenue when it comes to giving gifts. As a crafter, we tend towards the whole, we want to be able to make something because we know we're capable of it, but then we tend to bite off more than we can chew. Like, I even saw a crafter who was like, who started off thinking they could make something homemade for everybody for Christmas, and all of a sudden your whip bags go down to maybe a handful because you realistically realize, oh, I'm not going to get done in time, but I started all of them. So every single one of these bags is full, even though you realize that you're only going to get not even half, but a quarter of them done. I felt harmony with the fact that there was a lady who is like, who likes to start a project that realistically takes 4 years and start it the night before you were going to give it to the person? And me just being like, oh, I have found my community of crafters, because I feel like I represent such a community of that. When I have a mom and an influence in my life that as a crafter starts a craft and ends a craft. She very rarely DNFs a craft, and she very rarely starts a craft and gets distracted by a separate idea. She writes it down and is like, that'll be the next thing I do. And I'm just like, how can you not just instantly want to do it? Like, I don't know, and I'm not saying that I have this, but I don't know if it's like an ADHD thing or whatever, but my brain sometimes just struggles with just being inspired with one thing. I do this with books too. I can read several books at one time just because it's like, it feels like a TV show for me. Right. You know how like some people can watch multiple TV shows at a time, just an episode at a time? I do that sometimes with books where it's like, depending on my mood, It's what book I pick up and what chapter I read.
Exactly.
It's like I just do that. And the same thing with my crafts. What mood am I in today? Do I want to be making an origami? Origurumi, not origami. Completely different craft.
Right.
Origurumi, do I want to make a pillow? Do I want to make a wearable? Do I want to make a practical thing for the house? Do I want to make a blanket? Do I want to and my moods change, so I tend to have something of that always going on, but then it causes a pause because then I either forget about it, something else comes into priority, life gets in the way, or I just have a genuine human moment where I just forget that I even started it and start something else in that category of always having that tab open in my brain. And don't get me wrong, I realize that this is a human thing for me, but it's one of those things where So, sorry for the pause. My kid just came up. But here's the thing. There is a genuine reality to being in the purge mindset that I'm in. And realizing that part of my purge that still allows me to actively still make room and time for my craft in it is that I can finally finish projects and just get them out of the house.
Right.
That opens up space in and of itself by focusing on things and whips that are in a whole entire quarter of a huge percentage of my house of unfinished products that can simply be navigated, organized, prioritized in my downtime. That allows me to still have the very great health benefits that gives me of relaxing me and being a joy for me to do and a peacemaker and a meditation process, while also realizing that I'm still getting things out of the house. I'm still working on feeling like I'm giving to people or
giving gifts towards
other people. Or, in general, making things that will only benefit my household if I choose to sell. So it's like, no matter what, it's such a huge blessing. So I'm in the process of kind of working through and prioritizing and navigating all my whips right now. And I am feeling very inspired with so many different of my projects that it just feels like there were so many fighting for my attention when I started navigating all the things I had to get done. But there's three things that are really, 3 or 4 things at the top of my list right now. One of them is my mother-in-law's blanket, like I brought up. I am working on getting that taken care of. I've bordered all the blocks and now I'm assembling them finally. My mom even helped me assemble them and I'm working on that. But that kind of requires space that when I'm kind of moving things around in my house, especially furniture, I don't necessarily have the floor space for, or even just the surface space for in places in my house. So that kind of gets circumstantially put aside. But then there is the fact that I'm kind of feeling like I'm nesting again because of all the work that I'm doing in the house and all this opportunity to feel like I can create things and supplies for my house. I've been making little totes for my bathroom that if they get moist or something happens to them, I can easily throw them in the wash and they are perfectly available to just, keep up with, and or I can recycle or upcycle to something else in my house, or just in general can go with the theme of my bathroom at the time, and I can always create other types of totes or accessories for my bathroom
and
that different colors as my bathroom theme changes over time, because my guest bathroom is also my children's bathroom, and so if colors change, that's as simple as I can just make a quick tote and then just throw it in there and keep up with what's going on.
Right.
And that can be washed and put in the kids' room or whatever. So it's very versatile, and I love the idea that if it's made out of yarn, I can throw it and get it washed if something happens to it. So I'm working on all those, but on top of those two, I have my nephew who over Christmas asked me to make him a Luigi to pair with his Mario, realizing that I was able to do that with all the things I made for my son. And, or just, I don't know if he even saw Caniel's Luigi, but that knowing that I was capable because of what I had already made for him.
Right.
And so he asked for it, and because this weekend I am actually seeing my nephews, two of them. I'm going to be, one of them being the one that wanted the Luigi. I'm going to be making it. I'm going to be putting what I'm making down just for that one night, making all the parts, assembling it, and then having it ready for that point.
Wow. That's very quick.
Oh, that won't be that bad. I will just literally set that time aside. That whole entire night will be doing that project, and I'll have it done probably within 24 hours worth of crafting time, and or less. And I'll have it ready for him. And I can get back to what I'm doing here. But here's the thing. His brother has not formally requested a toy. So my idea had been, because I know his this other kid's preferences, my nephew's preferences, I could just guesstimate a toy for him. But then it occurred to me, when Nicholas asked me for the Luigi, he came up to me and said, I would like this. I don't want to make something for his brother Noah and then realize that he'll take it because he's not going to say no. But what if he had actually wanted something very specific and I kind of took that away from him?
Right.
So my plan is to have all my nieces and nephews tell me what they want this year, not the parents, but them specifically, and have them get what they want this year. That's how I'm going to operate.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that's how I'm doing that. So yes, am I not going to have 2 gifts for my nephews? I plan to bring candy and stuff, so it's not like that's going to matter. But with that being said, I will give him the opportunity now, saying that I've fulfilled what his brother wanted, that he now has the ability to be like, you're the next one that I'm making an origami for. So what do you want? So that's my plan for that. But what I'm making right here, I feel like I showed you over Christmas that I bought for a very dear friend of mine, one of my little friends. I taught her and her mom how to crochet, and she hasn't had a lot of opportunity to do her craft recently because life has been just kind of crazy and congested. But I haven't gotten to see her yet since Christmas. I know, it's crazy. It's March already and I haven't seen this little one. And I realized her birthday's literally coming up. And what I had for her in mind for Christmas is kind of going to be a Christmas and birthday gift in one. Now, I will have more than just this gift for celebrating both of those things when she sees me. But with the yarn that I bought her, thinking, okay, either she will be inspired by this yarn to continue with what I've taught her because she was on her own interested in doing it, or if she doesn't have the time, she'll ask me to make something for it. This beautiful rainbow pastel yarn. It's a red heart stripe yarn, and I do believe it's called Retro. I'll confirm that in a minute. I decided this kid loves blankets. It's a comfort thing. She likes to have something that she can hide under or cuddle with. So I decided that I was going to make her a blanket with the yarn. And so far, this is where I'm at.
Isn't that beautiful? I love it.
I love this pattern. I've always loved this pattern. And I've made other blankets in this pattern before. But this pattern that I'm making, the center with all the variations of color from this color changing yarn, is that what it's called? It's not ombre. Variegated yarn. Where all of this is, not the white, but just this color, is a virus pattern. Now, the pattern that I am replicating here it's a virus and granny square pattern. So it goes from this virus pattern to a granny stitch, a granny pattern. around, and then it goes back to the virus and back to the granny and back to the virus, however you want to, and however you want to like space out the stripes, space out how you want to do it. So how I'm doing it, because this yarn kind of got consumed very quickly. It's not that much of it, so I will have to buy more. But what I did was, when I switched over to the granny stitch, which is what I'm doing right now, I'm doing that in solids. So I have white, I have this pastel purple, which is not really in here, that I thought would go well. I have this coral pink that goes really well with the pinks and their coral shades that they have in this, which I thought was awesome that I found. I gotta move to grab the rest of it. And I have two different yellows that I have to go from. Now this is a bit of a darker, and this one is a bit of a pastel yellow. I don't know which one will go better with it. This is the pastel, or the darker. I know either one's gonna work.
Well, and as you get larger, you're gonna probably end up using both.
I don't know how big I'm gonna go, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So my plan is the white. Got plenty of white. I plan to do the purple, and I plan to do several rows in purple, then go back to white.
Okay.
And then, depending on how much of this I get, I'll back to the virus pattern in this. Then when I go back to the granny squaring, I'll do the white and then several rows of another color. I'm thinking the yellow next. And then I'll border it with the white before I transfer back into the granny. And then I will go to the white with the coral.
Yeah.
And then the white, and then finish it off with the granny, with the virus. But depending on how much this yarn's going to be, I might have to do it where it's the granny for a while, or it's the white, do the purple, have the white, then continue on to the yellow, white, then continue on to the pink, white, and then go back to the virus to finish it off, where it's like this, then a whole bunch of granny, then the virus again. But I think either way it's gonna look beautiful. If I have the money to be able to do the other way, where there's a bit of a separation and more color and more vibrancy, I will. But that's how I'm kind of doing it right now.
So pretty.
This is a 2 repeat thus far with the viruses. So I will do probably about 5 rows in the granny. So the white, 3 in the solid other solid color, and then a solid white border, and then go to 2 rows again with the virus. And then continue on like that. So yeah, I think this is beautiful. It's colorful. It really screams this kid's personality.
Oh yeah.
And I'm excited because when a little kid goes through so much chaos as her life has had with her family, and just all the craziness that her family's had to go through in the last couple of years, just little bits of joy, I think, are some of the greatest things. And we can't forget our little friends.
No.
We just can't. Whether you have to visually remember, hey, this is, this isn't just my friend's kid. This is my friend too.
Yeah.
Like, I think about it that way, because it's like, I remember when I was a kid and having adults address me as their friend. Not in any sort of creepy way, but just like they value me in the conversation.
Right.
That mattered, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I want to be like that in kids' life, be able to have that ability to inspire them and treat them as important, that their voices are heard, and that I want to be there for them just as much as the adults in their life that I converse with. So I love doing that with my nieces and my nephews when I have the opportunity to, whether they are adopted from my friends or whether they are part of my family. As much as possible, I'm trying to bridge those gaps to be a better adult in their life, because it matters to me. But there was one more thing I was going to say, and I don't know if I'm going to recall it now, because my brain this pattern. because I'm guessing some people are going to be very curious, I follow Fiber Spider on YouTube, and I am getting this from his video tutorials of this blanket. He has this same type of pattern altered into being a shawl, altered to where it's just the virus pattern as a blanket only, or just as a shawl, or even with the granny, and he does it all in video tutorial. So if you're looking for another great channel that has great patterns with great instructions, where it's almost like a crochet along, he does do streams where you can crochet along with him and just spend time with him on chat and stuff. And he also narrates books for free on there, and he also has a gaming channel called Fiber Spider Games. I haven't checked it out yet, but I love books, I love games, and I love crocheting, so I feel like he just checks off all my boxes, and I've been following him for a long time. Very big fan of his work, and I love how he's just super supportive for anyone who wants to start learning, and is very much able to be where they're at. And whenever he tries a new pattern, if there are people in the comments being like, try this technique, try going down a hook size when you're switching to the stitch and then going back to the other hook size originally for different stitches, he'll try it out and come back and let you know if that worked before he goes into his next section.
Right.
It's very cool to have creators like that really value the idea of teaching you new ways of doing it, because sometimes the visual tutorials help.
Right.
And I know that I've been a faithful follower of him for a while. So Fiber Spider, Fiber Spider, Spider. Find him. He's great. I can't recommend him enough. So
now we've got a quote, and it is, "Do it big, do it right, and do it with style." And that's Fred Astaire. So, do it big, do it right, and do it with style. I think that's what Sarah's doing with this blanket.
Yeah, this kid just literally lives with, not saying no filter, but just, she loves being her own little diva. She is not afraid of just showing off her own style and just being herself.
And part of that is color.
And and I love that for her because it's such a freedom.
Yeah.
So yes, do it big, do it right, and do it with style. I love the do it right part of his, of this saying, because there is such a thing of doing it wrong isn't just based off of social norms, it's based off of being true to yourself. Sometimes we get so caught up in what other people think that we don't think for ourselves. And it's so important to sometimes realize that the right thing to do is to do it right for you. Yeah. If this is what you need, then do it. Yeah. If it is living your best life and dressing like a favorite book character for the day, or just going to have fun. I saw a lady about my age, she's a cosplayer, and there was a person saying, if you struggle to do chores in your own home, you should cosplay as a very specific type of person, like or a creature, and act like you're cleaning your den, or act like you're cleaning your tavern, or act like you're cleaning, and kind of make it fun for yourself. Theme out and inspire yourself to do the jobs that you don't always like to do.
I've seen ladies do that for the 1950s look.
Yeah, and I think that there's just something to that where it's like, life shouldn't be dull. Yeah. You're allowed to have fun, and it's kind of the whole Mary Poppins thing.
Dress the part and be the part.
Yeah, it's the whole find a way to make it fun, because this is your life and you deserve to have that.
Yeah.
You know, life is too short to always be not have it always be standard. I struggle with one specific thing. My kids have a tendency of dancing in the store at the drop of a hat. Like
Fred Astaire is a dancer.
And don't get me wrong, there's in most cases I don't really care, except when they're swinging and they're just mindlessly going and they don't realize that they're gonna pop themselves against the cart or into strangers, and they've done both. And I sit back and I look at them. I'm like, do you see anyone else dancing in the store? No. Well, do you think you should be dancing? Yes. And I sit back and I wonder, why aren't more people dancing in the store? Why aren't more people enjoying the music going on? And
Kids are true to themselves.
And I struggle because there's a practicality to what is going to cause a lot of attention, and realizing, why not be the mom from Sing when she gets her groove on and she finally figures out what she needs to do, and she makes the grocery store her own musical.
Yep.
I don't know. There is just a reality to learning how to be true to yourself, that it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Just
do it.
And creativity, like having a hobby like creating things out of yarn, can be a great way to branch out and find ways of being true to yourself. It just really is, because it can be small, and it can be personal, or it can be big, and it can be loud. And you can go either way, but it doesn't hurt anybody, because all you're doing is taking it one stitch
At a time. Yeah.
So, do it big, do it right, and do it with style by Fred Astaire.
Yes.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it inspired you. We are so grateful to have you guys in our corner and being with us today. Let us know what you're working on, what you're doing with style, and whether you're branching out and doing things in bold colors like what we're doing this week, or just whatever you're doing. And if you need any sort of accountability buddy with your whip stash, I'm here for you. We can do this together.
Yeah.
We got this. Gotta do it.
And give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, tell your friends.
And as always, we're grateful for you to be here with us, to visit with us, and we hope that we've made your day better, and we hope that you stitch your way
To mental health.